Hi everyone, welcome to Deadline Dilemmas from Fantasy Football Scout. Praz, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well. You tell me, man. You're on a roll. Like you're smashing it week after week, carrying 3 free transfers. You tell me.
Well, what can I say, Praz? Now, 2 good game weeks, Praz. I can't get too excited, but I will say this: it feels quite nice. I can only imagine how you're feeling with your season because you still had a good game week as well, Praz.
That was okay. I mean, I got like the smallest of green arrows possible. In fact, I got a red arrow. I posted my team, and then they
Yeah.
changed Palmer's bonus, and then got to a green arrow. So I was so excited, even though it's just 1 point.
So
But
that's how tight it was.
so I was basically it was a gray arrow. 55 points for me. But you were like what, 70?
71 points, Praz. 71 points, mate. It's quite
Not
rare I've come
bad.
onto the pod with you and I've had 2 strong game weeks. So it actually feels very, very nice. I actually logged into my FPL team earlier than I normally would just to have a little look. It was in so that's how it was a nice feeling. Everyone turned up again, Praz. And I will say this actually, last week's Deadline Dilemma show was actually key to that because I after discussing with you, I gave you all my transfer plans, and one of the ones you put on the table, what Praz was, how about just don't do a move? And
Yeah.
at one stage, that was my third option, if I'm honest, Praz. I was like, nah, I wanted to be aggressive. I had 2 free transfers. I slept on it. The next day again, it made the idea you said, Praz, made more sense. So I thought, okay, let's wait. And I was gonna wait because we had 3 o'clock kickoffs, didn't we? So I was hoping, long as Gabriel, like you said, if Gabriel was starting, I had
Hmm.
enough in defense. I was right
And
about
you would
Greaves
have
though,
got
Praz.
Trent and benched Hall, right?
I was gonna bet Hall would have been my first
And
bench.
I
Yeah,
and I didn't told you not to bench Hall.
yeah,
Yes, I'm taking
yeah,
credit for this.
yeah.
Okay,
Of 100%,
right.
100%. But I will say it was still the Gabriel one. I had a feeling. Well, not had a feeling. There was already rumors out that he was gonna start.
Yeah.
So that was the key because unlike you, I didn't have faith in Greaves, which turned out to be right as well, Prez.
Yes, that was
So
correct. But still, it would have worked out okay. But I think saving just always works out. Like I don't ever regret saving. Yeah, you can have some regret that you missed out on maybe a 6.7 point, return or something. But there are much more regrets in doing the wrong transfer. I feel like that's underrated.
100%. I mean, I said in one of my videos this week exactly that, and I quoted what you said as well. At times, the best move is to do no moves, and I just sat back, and I was quite comfortable by the end. When I saw the team, I mean, very fortunate with the Hall, the Hall. I mean, Hall,
The whole
she's
whole.
it's such a rarity, Praz, but we will take it. But and the important one, imagine that as well. Not just the Hall bench, it would have been Mbumo out as well. So can
Yeah,
you imagine? Can you imagine that?
that would
I
have
mean, he
been
was
guilty,
fortunate
man.
to get away with that chance he got, Praz. But as I
Yeah,
said,
but every player is fortunate to score, right? Scoring is hard. So
it's
we
very
can't,
difficult.
every time a
Very
player does
difficult.
something, you can't just say, oh, that was his only shot, or he had 2 shots and he scored one. Yeah, but there's other game weeks where he scores five, well, he has 5 shots and scores nothing. So, no, Mbumo scoring that goal was not lucky. He was playing up front,
It
which
was
was
an excellent
predicted,
goal as well, Praz.
and it was a well taken goal. And yeah,
Yeah.
it was well deserved.
So another example, as I said, is a perfect advert for Deadline Dilemmas because I had so many options, and I'm hoping this week again you can clutch up for me again because I've got many options. We're gonna go into my team in a minute, but yeah, overall very happy, Praz. So yeah, super excited.
On
I'm,
the
I'm
up,
actually
on the
looking
up.
forward to this week.
Good to see. Good to see.
So we'll go straight into my team actually, and as you can see, first time in the season, 3 free transfers. I've not had that once, Prize. I reached 2 after my wild card. That's the only way I could reach 2 transfers, and zero point 0.4 in the bank. So as you can see, the team this week again, Prize. I'm going to read it out now. So we got Sales in goal, Gabriel and Timber and Hall, and then in midfield, Palmer, Mbumo, Saka, and Salah. Up front, Raul Jimenez, Isaac, and Pedro. So the bench is Fabianski. Semenyo becomes first bench. Second bench is Lewis. And last is the Greaves, who doesn't turn up no more.
Hmm.
So the team overall, Praz, it actually looks, I know a lot of them are playing away this week, unlike last week where we had the majority of them at home. It looks an incredible team. It still looks very good. I mean, what's your take? Before I tell you my actual transfer plans and ideas again, which I've got quite a bit this week, but what do you think of the team? How it looks just right now, Prez?
When you have a good game week, something magical happens. People want your players. And so then you don't need to make many moves because they are buying your players. So you're getting the price rises and you don't have the urgency to buy some player or whatever, I think your team looks fine. Like there's nothing to change. Like we talked about Raul being a popular buy because he was playing Southampton last week, which is when you were
Yeah.
thinking of like, maybe I should sell Raul. I told you no because a lot of
Yeah.
people will be
Yes.
buying him this week.
Yes.
So Isak, João Pedro, all good options. I think your four are all fine. Like Mbumo this week is not a sell. Like home to Nottingham Forest is not the easiest, but it's fine. It's a home game, and
Yeah.
so it should be absolutely fine to play him. And then obviously your double Arsenal defense is good. Nottingham Forest is a decent defense, so the keeper is good. And then Hall, like you don't want to bench him. Like he just got a good return. Ipswich away, probably Ipswich score, but then everybody has bad clean sheet odds. So he's an attacking defender.
Yeah.
So absolutely nothing to do.
Yeah. You say that though, Praz. Maybe it's because there's free transfers I've got, and I'm thinking of all the different permutations. So I'll tell you a couple of things I was thinking about. So don't worry, the no transfer is definitely very high up on the agenda, okay? But I was considering still, for example, Semenyo, just a one transfer potentially. He's got one return in the last 10 game weeks.
Mhm.
Been a little bit frustrating. I know at that price we can't expect a return every other week. I know that,
No,
but
1 in 10
still,
is very disappointing for
it
sure.
is disappointing, isn't it, Price? I've had him for a long time. I really like him. I actually rate him as a player, and it's not like he's not getting chances, Price. He's getting the chances, but yeah, you've seen it yourself. I'm not sure if you own him or not. We'll come onto your team, but he
I
was,
don't, but I watched the game very closely because it was Monday Night Football and he got
yeah,
nothing else to do. He could have double return. Like
I agree.
he had that shot which hit the post. He had that blocked shot that went to Otara that was saved very well. So I'm not saying like he's great, but he's not bad. And you're not even playing him this week. Next week he's home to Crystal Palace.
Exactly that. And then you've also okay, so I'll tell you why that idea is even why it's even in my head. Because like you said, he's a first sub. What am I going to do? Bring in a player and leave him on the bench? Why would he do that? But it's because I think the subs we have, sorry, the cheap midfielders we have at the moment, Praz, are really enticing. I know it's
Mm.
always looks better the ones that you don't own. So, for example, the two I'm gonna say to you is Ahmad and Enzo. So they look very enticing. But then in my head, why would I bring them in and not play them? So that just don't make no sense at all. So
Yeah,
that
I
was
mean,
one of
let's say
the
you went for Ahmad, right? And let me give you a little bit because we're podding right after the Man United Spurs game, which we have lost, and we should talk about Carabao Cup a little bit because that's part of Deadline Dilemmas is to talk about things that have happened during the week, which other podcasts would have not covered because they would have been on Wednesday or a Tuesday.
yeah,
And so, look, I think tonight United were actually very poor, and actually even in the Man City game for the first 70 odd minutes, they
yeah,
were pretty poor. And the thing is, just it's just not yet clicking up top between Hoyland, Bruno, Ahmad, or tonight it was Anthony. Um, it's something's missing. Like we're not able to create those chances. Now in the Spurs game, eventually we got there. In the
yeah,
Man City game, eventually we got there.
yeah,
But that won't continue forever. And the fixtures that Man United have are like good, bad, good, bad, bad. So it's not like there's a sea of green that you want to say, oh, I want to get this guy and play him every week. So I get the appeal. I think
yeah.
amongst all the cheap guys, Ahmad has the highest ceiling. Like he will score a goal. He scored one tonight,
You
which
saw
was
today when he
basically
came on, Prez.
he was pressing very hard, and the
It's
goal obviously was
aggressive.
created from a mistake. But
Hmm.
he is the guy. Like all the goals are now funneling through him. But I would still caution that this is a team still in flux. It's a team that may disappoint in the odd game, may score 3 goals in the other game, but may score one in another, may randomly lose to a Bournemouth, but then win against a Liverpool. Just using examples, like it's that kind of team at the moment. So you will get frustrated a bit, I feel, with Ahmad unless you plan to play him every single week. In a team like yours, you'll have to guess. Okay, this week I'll play Ahmad. This week I won't play Ahmad.
Yeah.
You'll bench a lot of his points, and when you play him, you won't get the same returns. He's just, I mean, he's not a 10 million pick, right? He's not going to score every game. So that's the thing with him. And I can see a lot of people going for him. Fine, absolutely okay. But just manage your expectations is what I would say. I would still say between these four picks, like if you put Semenyo, Rogers, Enzo, and
Ahmad.
and Ahmad in that category, I would say Semenyo is a little bit different because he's more expensive. So he probably competes with other players like Sar,
Yeah.
Iwobi. I think Semenyo is the best in that category. Sar maybe in a couple of weeks will start to get better if he's still
Hmm.
having those minutes. But in this subcategory of the 5 million ish, I think Ahmad is one. I think Enzo is two, and I think Rogers is slightly falling behind, also because of the tougher fixtures.
Fair. But you can see why I was considering that. I think obviously when it's still fresh in your mind, and like we said, one return in 10 for Semenyo, and then the other ones. I mean, I agree with what you said with regarding Manchester United and Ahmad and a bit of caution. But he has been returning quite comfortably week in, week out for a player that price. And so's Enzo. You saw in the last game, I think we should you saw how advanced Enzo was, Prez, in the last fixture.
He was
He
very
was
much so.
very advanced. I was watching that game thinking, have I made a mistake rolling? And the irony is, I know, it. I came out smiling at the end, not thinking about that when Mbumo ran off and scored the 1v1. So that was one of the transfers, Prez. Last week, like you said, I was considering, believe it or not, Raul Jimenez to say a Jackson, thinking I'll be very aggressive. Now it looks lovely. I've kept him. But this week, the landscape changes. Pedro was frustrating a lot of us. One return in the last 4. He could become a Jackson if I wanted to, if I really wanted to push through 2 transfers. So that was something it was still in my mind. Part of me still thinks how nice that the Isaac and Jackson, you're covering, I think, the 2 best forwards at the moment in the game. So I was thinking that's an aggressive move, but still below do nothing. What do you think of that move, Prez?
So you do Mbumo to João Pedro
Yeah.
to Jackson and who? Ahmad.
What are the 2 we said? Either Enzo or Ahmad. But I prefer Enzo, if I'm honest.
I don't feel it, man. Like João Pedro will come good. Like he's for me a long-term hold. He's getting minutes, he's on penalties, he plays for an attacking team, and he's super cheap. Like Raul Jimenez is not the same. Like after this week, if you wanted to do that move, maybe get rid of him after he plays Southampton. If he plays Southampton, there are
It's true.
way more
Yeah.
doubts about Raul Jimenez's long-term prospects in the team. Whether he's on penalties or not. Is he starting every single game? The games he starts, he gets taken off on the 70th minute. Muniz is looking good. João Pedro has no such issues. And
No.
as an attacking outfit, Brighton are still better than Fulham. Fulham are having a great season, nothing against them.
Yeah.
But I feel Brighton are still long term. If I was to predict attacking numbers, I would say Brighton score more goals than Fulham. So no, I don't feel it. You're
Not
taking out
feeling
2
that.
penalty takers for 2 non-penalty takers.
Yeah.
Which one of them is on 4 yellows. Is good up is a good pick. But I don't like you're basically making your team less robust, which during the Christmas period you should be doing the other thing. You should be making it more robust.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. It's just one of the ideas, as I said, floating around my mind. I do like Jackson, even with the 4 yellow cards. I hear you. What's your take on the João Pedro being the number 9? Do you think that I've heard some say they're not happy when he plays in that position, and maybe he's not at his best when he's in that position trying to lead the line. Praz, what's your take on that, or you're not too fussed?
I'm frankly not too fussed. Like I feel it's a role thing. Like even when he's a 9, he's not playing the Welbeck 9 role.
No, he's not.
He does still come back and help out a little bit. So it doesn't change too much. I think a number 9 helps him a little bit, but we use short game samples to start creating narratives. Oh, Mbumo's not as short in 4 games. Like, there must be something different. Or Salah's too wide in the last 2 games. There must be something different. Like we try to find patterns in very short sample sizes. And a lot of it is sometimes just game state. Like maybe he was marked out of the game in one game and he didn't look so great. I'm happy if he's playing up top or number 10. It doesn't matter. Like it will be nice to have Wilbeck back because there is another person that the defenders have to focus on. But it doesn't change his appeal as such for me. Like it's okay.
Okay, and just you touched on something earlier on, Raul Jimenez. You're not confident. I know. I'm in agreement with you. And one of the reasons he was potentially on a chopping block are his minutes. I know he's a 75-minute man with Muniz waiting to come on. And during the Christmas period, it's possible he even misses a game. They reverse it. He gets the 15 minutes and Muniz gets. So is that one of your concerns?
It happened once, right?
It happened once already. Yeah, it did.
So we've basically had a what do you call it? Like a test run of what happens during midweek games.
Yeah.
And certain players showed that they're robust, that they will not change. Bomo is that, Isak is that, Palmer is that, Saka is that, Salah is that. Arsenal defense, I think, relatively are fine. But Raul Jimenez and Jackson both showed that they missed a game in a midweek. Like we have evidence of this only 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So there is no way somebody can tell me that no, they're sure that he's going to start all 3 games. Same for him, same for Jackson. Like maybe Jackson has a better chance because Chelsea's games are more spread out. But Raul Jimenez's case is actually the opposite this time, where the tougher game is the midweek game.
Yeah.
So you just don't know which game he's going to miss. Maybe he's needed for Chelsea. So which game does he miss either side of that? Is it the Bournemouth game? Bournemouth game is harder than Southampton. So you have him, you play him. But
Yeah.
I have these doubts because I have Cunha in my team and he could get a ban tomorrow. And then I have to think about who do I replace him with. Definitely Raul Jimenez is in my thoughts. But then I'm also thinking, do I need to go there? Because it's just one game. It's just this Southampton game, which I'm really thinking I need him for. He
I'm
does have
sure he's
Bournemouth
got
at home.
more. I was about to say he's got more good fixtures, hasn't he, Praz? They're second on this little short term.
Ipswich home as well. Okay, West Ham away as well. So okay, you can
Yeah,
get him. You can get him because a
yeah,
lot of people are getting Robinson for the same reason. That
yeah.
it's a decent run for a longer while. But then I can also argue that while he's going through this run, there's other good strikers who have a good run as well. Like if you
Yeah,
like you've just talked about Jackson. I think Chris Wood's difficult games are out of the way. Now there are now fantastic fixtures for Chris Wood, but I think
agree.
there's still, he's also an option. You still have João Pedro for people who don't have him. So Mateta is starting to become an option from game week
Yeah,
19. These are different price brackets, but what I'm saying is we still have a third slot. We still have only one slot. You can still make money work to go around it, that you don't have to go for a Raul Jimenez. I think he's a fine keep. I think he'll do fine for you. In these 5 fixtures, he probably plays 4, and that's fine.
that's not bad, isn't it, Praz? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's my take. I'm actually, like you said, as I've had him for a little while, I'm conditioned. I'm already preparing myself. I'm not sure I can anticipate the start and play one of my fifth midfielders. I think I'm gonna have to just ride it, Prez, and hope. Like you said, one of those fixtures he's gonna miss. It is what it is. He'll come on for 15 minutes, but then I get him for the rest of those, so it's not too bad. He is the main man there. I think that Silva's already shown us. He's the main. He's the main number 9, and Muniz is the
absolutely.
understudy. That don't look like it's gonna change at the moment.
Agree with you.
So the last transfer, Prez, and even though this week is nowhere near as urgent, hence why, like you said last week, do nothing is very prominent this week. But Lewis is still a problem. Now again, I don't have to tackle it. It looks like I'm going to have 3 defenders playing this week, unless something, and I've got a bench, Lewis, albeit they're not keeping clean sheets. But I could, in theory, Prez, tidy that up and get a Robinson or a Kirkes or go
No,
somewhere
don't touch
else.
it. Because again, your defense is fine at the moment this week. Next week, Rico Lewis is home to Everton, and it's the early kickoff. By the way,
Yeah,
this week's Villa game is also the early kickoff. So you'll
yeah.
actually have another test run to see, do we actually get early news for
The
Rico Lewis
news.
starting or not. So next week, when he's playing home to Everton, play him if he's starting. That's a beautiful fixture if he's starting home to Everton.
Yeah.
Then you bench Hall, who's playing Villa. So you're sorted. Next week you play Semenyo, who has a home game, and you bench Raul, who's away to Chelsea. So I think this team is rotating well. I'll be telling you to roll next week as well.
I was about to
Like,
say, Praz, I'm going to reach the stage now, Praz. So no more transfers for the rest of the season.
no, after
No.
after next week, I think Mbumo could be a sell eventually.
Yeah,
So you could be thinking about using that money wisely. You could start to think about getting Trent eventually. That was something we were talking about. Liverpool could get a double
yeah,
game week
yep.
soonish. And Liverpool's fixtures after they've played Spurs from a defensive point of view are decent for a while. Like if you go to
Agreed.
the fixture ticker, like how many clean sheets do you think they have between Leicester home, which is bloody fantastic,
It's a good
West
fixture.
Ham, Man United, Nottingham Forest? I think there's a couple of clean sheets there, and then obviously
Definitely.
this goes beyond because their fixtures are good for a while now.
Yeah.
So it's a good bandwagon to get on Trent. You could think of Jota, Bumo to Jota. Like there's so many options.
There's
Jota is
options
home to
popping up.
Leicester
Yeah.
next week. That's a move if you think he's starting. So moves will come. You don't need to
What
push
about
it.
Muniz? Muniz, if I'm pronouncing it correct, the Crystal Palace wing
Game week
back.
19. So I'll tell
Exactly.
you when we come to my team, these are
Yes.
all names that I have in mind.
You've got these mapped out. I know you've already got this mapped out, Praz. So
Exactly.
perfect. All right, what we're gonna do then? Gonna finish on my team because, like you said, it's in a good. For once, it's rare this season, Praz. I can actually sit with you and nod my head and agree. It is actually. I'm actually happy for this game week. The team's looking good. The last thing I don't know if you want to discuss it now or when we reach your team is the captaincy this week is juicy. It's very
No
very
debate.
tight.
No debate this week.
You think no debate at all, Praz? Yeah, that's interesting because looking at the predicted points from the Fantasy Scout membership area, it's pretty tight. But I know why you're saying it, but I want to get it out of you. Why do you think it's no debate then, Prez?
I mean, I just watched Spurs against Man United. They're terrible. And Salah's got a full rest. Spurs have played pretty much their full team tonight.
Yeah,
They play Liverpool, and Salah has had a rest. A lot of Liverpool players had a rest. I think
yeah.
Robertson obviously missed out due to the suspension. Van Dijk got a full rest. Allison got a rest. Not that keepers
Gravenberch.
need a rest. So lots of their players got a rest, whereas Spurs have just played it on a Thursday. I think there's, you can be sure that Spurs will concede 2-3 goals. So then Salah is involved in 1 or 2. Whereas Everton could have a hammering, 4-0. but also could have a 1-0 kind of thing. So
Yeah.
why would you do it? Like, you don't need to go there. And then Saka, already we've talked about him. Like, Arsenal's defense is a little bit, you have to be careful. He got an assist last night, which was nice. But then after all, it is Arsenal and Crystal Palace are a little bit on the up. Isak is the only one that I would say, if you wanted to be complete maverick, differential, different to everyone else. But then Newcastle also are not the best travelers.
So, okay, as you said good stuff there. I want to pick you up on. First of all, I'm in agreement. Currently, I'm with Salah as well at the moment, Prez. The watching tonight's game, we're recording straight fresh after the Manchester United Spurs game. And one thing watching that, I was thinking, how can you not captain Salah? But Saka, you said you're not too keen on him. But when he came on against Crystal Palace, he made a big difference. The impact was, and Crystal Palace did look like they're going to free up the chances. How comes you're just not keen on him at all, Prez? Is it this
It's
whole
also an away
season
game,
or just
right?
this fixture?
No, it's just a fixture thing. Like, you're comparing an away game to an away game. Crystal Palace away is same as Spurs away or Everton away. Like, it's not better. So for me to captain Saka over Salah or Palmer, he has to have a better fixture. And I don't see that. And this team is a little bit struggling with, of course they scored 3, but that was Jesus, and it was not the same team. But the team has little bit struggled, and I think
Yeah.
Saka's great. Like, he's my one of my favorite picks in FPL because he's cheaper than Palmer and Salah, but probably can have the same potential. But he's not a captainable guy in my eyes unless it's a really, really banker fixture. They've already had Southampton and Leicester at home. So their 2 banker fixtures are out of the way. I just keep him in my team and not worry about it. That's basically, he's my perma keep, but don't captain or vice captain. And that's where I am with him.
I know you're a big Saka fan. I remember this from early at the start of the season. I remember you talking about him, but I was surprised not for you to mention him as a captain this week, actually. And the other one I wanted to say, just for other people that are watching, if they do have Haaland, where is he in this list? Or do we not even mention him, Prez, as
No, I mean,
captain?
not this week. Not this week. I mean, I don't think you need to do it with Villa away. Because not that he doesn't have potential, it's just that you don't know which City will turn up.
Yeah.
Like, and do you see a 4-0? No. Or a
Nah.
4-1? No.
No.
Can you see a 4-2 with Liverpool Spurs? I can see it. Like, it's
Definitely.
possible.
Definitely.
Can you see a 4-0 with Chelsea? Probably. Like, not probably, but it's possible. But I don't see Villa conceding 4 goals as such. So I don't think you need to do it. I think from next week, if you still are one of those people who still have Haaland, next week is your time to shine because they are home to Everton. Unfortunately, Salah's also home to Leicester next week. But it is your time to at least start getting some points out of this 14.9 million thing that you own.
You're almost feeling sorry for them, aren't you, Prez, when you say that sentence there?
No, they've been very unlucky, man. Look, people can keep saying they're idiots for holding Haaland or whatever. It's all hindsight. It's all hindsight.
I don't think that, because I was one of them. You was one of the early adopters that went off him and you flourished. I was one of the ones where, that period where he was putting up the XG, Praz, but very unlucky. Although I will say recently, Praz, even that XG's calmed down big time. So if I'm totally honest with you, it has calmed down.
But then the fixtures are improving as well. So there will be a game where City will put 4 past somebody and he gets a brace.
100%. Yeah, that we know that's inevitable. One thing, we've seen what that guy does. He just scores goals, end of. Right, so, and one more thing, actually, no. I want to say, just before I jump off selfishly for myself, goalkeepers, Prez, if I've got all of these transfers building up, would you ever still use a transfer to fix these goalkeepers, or no? You think Sales' fixtures are good enough?
I'm looking at my next goalkeeper transfer in 3-4 weeks.
Oh, you are interested? Okay, well then
I've already done one.
I know.
And I might do Raya to Alisson. Like, if I can't find a good third Liverpool and they have a double game week, I just go Alisson. Like, he's right there. And one thing, now we're getting into too much future planning, but game week 24, when a lot of people are saying they'll have the double, the problem with the double is the first game will happen, which is, I think,
I can't remember off my head.
Everton away is obviously the fixture that has moved.
Yeah.
But what is the one that they have already? I think it's Bournemouth away. If I remember correctly, let's go to.
I can't remember. I'm gonna try and check while you're.
No, it's Bournemouth away.
Okay, so, you checked already. Cool.
So Bournemouth away. Then they have the Carabao Cup semi-final. They have the FA Cup, and then they have Everton away. So they will have 2 cup games in the middle of the double game week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very hard to predict who is the third Liverpool to go for. Now, you could go for the assistant manager chip, which we talked about last week or something. That's safe. That's fine. But if you wanted not to play it then that week, let's say you're playing triple captain that week or you're doing something else, then having a third Liverpool will be tough to predict. Like, it probably comes down to either having Van Dijk or Alisson. if you wanted a third Liverpool, because you can't trust anyone else to play a game, two games later, like them having 2 cup games in the middle and then getting the second game of the double game week.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Even right now, Praz, the third Liverpool is a bit tricky for me. If I had to tell you right now, Jota sounds gorgeous, but he's flaky. With like you said, in that period, he could play the first one, you don't see him again. So
Exactly.
I know what you mean. And then we got Diaz, and now Chiesa's back. He gave us little cameo, so he could start eating a little bit of minutes here. So he adds just extra unknowns with the Liverpool attack. The only one certainties we know is Salah and Trent, which were so. All right, so the goalkeeper one isn't so crazy because I was actually thinking, nowhere near, not this week, if I'm honest with you, Praz, but just in the future, I was thinking if I'm going to start reaching the dizzying heights of 5 free transfers, I could actually look at that. You know, that's the luxury. But that's the good segue into your team, Praz, because you spoke about a potential goalkeeper. So let's get into your team, Praz.
I mean, not a potential goalkeeper this week. I'm very happy with Raya. But I'll read it out first. So it's Raya in goal, Trent, Gabriel. I basically chucked out Ait Nouri on Monday night, when he was well. It was not about his drop, but Robinson was rising, and I had two free transfers, and I knew what I wanted to do. So Robinson came in on Monday night.
Second time you've gone early, Praz. I've noticed that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you have some free transfers and your team is in good shape. Like if you look at my team,
Yeah.
Trent, Gabriel, Raya, Salah, Palmer, Saka, Enzo, Isak, João Pedro. That's 9 players that I'm fairly happy with. I'm not going to touch Greaves. That's 10.
Yeah.
So actually, that gets me to where I want to take this team, which is basically there's 3 positions that I want to play around with in the next 3 game weeks, which is Rogers, Cunha, and Rico Lewis. Those are the only 3 positions where I think I can improve the team.
Yeah.
Cunha was anyway going to go next week, right? After he's played Leicester, because there's fixtures turn. So if he's banned, he'll go this week. If he's not banned, then he will go next week. And so I have to take these 3 options as a trifecta. And the plan is, let's first talk about defense. Robinson, great. Gabriel, Trent, great. So this week, I don't have a problem. Next week, Robinson plays Chelsea. Rico Lewis plays Everton. So I'm hoping that Rico Lewis is back and he plays, and I get him for Everton, which is a midweek game, by the way, which is the early kickoff. So we should find out. If he doesn't, then either next week or the week after, Rico Lewis to Munoz is guaranteed. Like it's not even a question.
So that's locked in, that transfer. As long as he's not injured or nothing, he's coming in.
Okay. Because his ban is finished. He's playing Bournemouth away next week. I don't want to get him next week, which is why I hope Rico Lewis starts. But if Rico Lewis doesn't start, I'll just go a week earlier, no problem.
Okay.
But by game week 19, when he has Southampton at home, Muniz will be in my team. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Just like I have Southampton at home from Robinson, I want Southampton at home from Muniz as well in game week 19. So with the defense of Muniz, Robinson, Gabriel, and Trent playing 3 out of those 4, I'm done. Like I could even some weeks play 4 out of 4. It's not a problem. Like I can play 4 at the back. It's basically having a good first sub for the foreseeable. Then if you come to midfield, I think my 4 midfielders you see now are fine, but I can do better. I can get a 5th midfielder that is slightly better. So that 5th midfielder and Cunha, basically, let's talk about them as a pair. I can go for Cunha to Raul Jimenez, like you have, cheap guy, because then that will help me do Rogers to Jota.
Okay.
So by the time Leicester comes and I think Jota is starting, I do Cunha to Raul, maybe even this week. And then next week I get Jota for Rogers. And that sounds super sexy because then you have basically Salah, Palmer, Saka, Jota, Enzo. You have Raul, Isak, João Pedro. You don't play Jota if in a certain week you feel he's not starting, then you don't play him. I know it could be a trap. I'm not really that keen on this option, but I'm giving you all the options on the table.
No, I like it, Prez. I really like it. And I was going to ask you, if you did go Jota, would you look at that position where Jota plays, the 5th midfielder, as someone you change to attack each game week, or no, you'd want to keep him in for a bit longer?
Not each game week, but I would play it by ear. If Jota breaks down, then Eze's right there. Eze's got good fixtures as well. So let's call it an Eze/Jota/Gordon type position as my 4th midfielder. So that's a cheap attacker with a mid-priced midfielder. Then you can go for another option, which is Chris Wood instead of Cunha. And then for this 4th midfielder, you can get somebody like a Sar. Basically like a not a cheap midfielder, like a semi-cheap midfielder and a semi-cheap attacker. So Chris Wood and Sar basically fit that bill. In this case, Chris Wood would probably come in next week and then Sar would come in game week 19 alongside Munoz. So basically for that, so home to Southampton, I'd get to watch Sar another couple of weeks, and that could be basically my nice safe route if I wanted to go. The other option is I get Ahmad for Rodgers, and for Cunha I get Mateta. Basically, if I feel that after watching Palace another couple of weeks that Mateta is the pick, he's probably the guy on penalties,
Yeah.
then maybe he's the guy. So as you can see, Crystal Palace is on my mind. Getting a good striker is on my mind. And then the last option, which I like the least, is basically doing Rodgers to Dibbling and Cunha to Jackson.
Okay.
So the reason I don't like it is because then I'll have Enzo playing every week unless Dibbling
Yeah.
becomes an option.
Yeah.
Not really a fan. Although you can also argue because I have Munoz, I can also play four at the back some weeks if I don't like Enzo. So I'm not ruling it out completely. I
It's
can
not
do
too
that.
bad actually. Yeah, you do. I was about to. I was thinking you've got no flexibility because obviously you don't want to play Dibbling, but you do. You can play the back four if you want. So it's not too bad, Praz. And then you get Jackson, who has been very good this season, and Chelsea's the best attack in the Prem at the moment. So yeah.
I mean, so ideally, what I do with this team is I've done one transfer. I don't do the other one. And I'm
Yeah.
hoping Cunha is not suspended. Like he deserves to be. But, I'm
Yeah.
an FPL manager, so I don't give a shit. So if he is not suspended, then I'm happy to play him. I think Leicester is the defense to target at the moment because of how Nistelrooy sets up. Like he doesn't care about defending. Like he's not there to save their season by doing the Sam Allardyce stuff. He's there to prove his flamboyant attacking style and maybe get some results through that way. And so that suits the teams playing them. Like Isak how many could he have scored last week? So
Yeah.
happy to have Cunha playing. Next week, I will then decide in one of these four routes. It could be any of these four as things stand.
So a lot to unpack there. I want to ask you first of all about Isak because he's been very good. The last 3 game weeks, what was that? 11, 8 and 11, performing at an incredible level. I think all of us that own him, we love him. But after this fixture, Praz, he's got 3 medium, not bad. Is he still staying in your team, Praz? Is there no issue with him? He's in there because it gets better after that as well.
Yeah, and these fixtures are fine. Villa at
I
home
think
is
they're fine.
lovely.
Yeah.
I've just watched Spurs at home. Man United,
Yeah.
Man United created like 2.5 XG.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you first play Villa at home, and then you play the 2 teams that I've just watched and you've just watched that conceded chance after chance. I don't mind having Isak for those 3 games. Maybe I question if you have a haul that if you want to keep them for him for those 3, but as an attacker, absolutely fine. And then he's got a good run again. So I don't think Isak's leaving my team.
Totally agree with you, Praz. But I thought I had to ask because I got a couple of questions regarding that. Is it an opportunity to jump up? I was thinking, where are you going to go? Like, well, if you don't
There's
have
one
Jackson, you could go
scenario
down to
in which you
Jackson.
get rid of him. One scenario in which you get rid of him is basically if next week Saka, Salah, or Palmer get injured. And so if one of those 3 get injured, then you want to get Haaland back. And so you can do Isak up to Haaland, and whichever guy is injured, you bring him down.
So,
That's
Praz, would you do that
I would
as
do
almost a count? Would you do that, even though with Haaland how he's performing and how City are performing, and
Yes, but
clearly they're
if Salah is
struggling?
injured,
Yeah.
who's your best captain next week?
Yeah, I know. We just spoke about that. Haaland's fixtures is going to be lovely. I'm in agreement with you, but still, you don't have no concerns. I mean, you could argue how else would you spend them? Is it just because you just want to spend the money and get another premium in? But he's not.
It's just his expected points are still high. Like, okay, I'm with you. I share concerns. I'm not saying, oh,
Yeah,
Haaland is amazing, but I'm just saying having the flexibility to get. Can you imagine having a 15% owned Haaland, which you can get to for
I
free?
know.
And him basically again capturing form. That's basically the same as, but the opposite of what I enjoyed in game week 10 when I went off Haaland before anyone else and I got a lot of points. You could be at the other end of that. You have to get lucky. Like City have to suddenly start scoring 2-3 goals and Haaland has to score 2 goals. But
Yeah.
this game, you have to put yourself in a position to get lucky. I'm only saying if one of the 3 get injured, because as things stand, I think Isak, Saka, Salah, Palmer, all 4 are good picks. And for value for money, they're better picks than Haaland.
Totally agree with you. I mean, now I can easily say it. At the time when you first discussed it, like you said, very early, I was still a bit skeptical. Obviously, the fresh Haaland that start of the season was fresh in my mind. Now it's almost easy to say it, if I'm totally honest with you. But yeah. So going back to your team, another thing I wanted to ask you as well, with Raya, is there any, not regrets? I looked at the points in the last, say, from game week 10 to now, and he's the lowest scorer from their defense. It's not by much, Prez. It's like by
Yeah, but I didn't have
12
him
or
from game
13.
week 7.
When did you get him? When did you jump on, Prez? No, from game week 10?
From his first clean sheet, game week 10.
Yeah, so you jumped on there. Okay. He's from the Arsenal defense, he's actually the lowest.
They had
points.
not great fixtures in the first, like on wildcard. I had Edison, if you remember.
I remember.
I got a clean sheet from Edison. I got a clean sheet from Fabianski. Then I moved to Raya. I've got, I think, 3 clean sheets from Raya in the last 6. So I'm not unhappy at all. But but my team value is insane. Like in the last 3 weeks, I've carried over $1 million plus in the bank. So if I had a cheaper keeper, what would I do with that money? Like, where am I putting it?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. No, I thought I'd just ask because I had a quick look at today at the Arsenal defense and who is scoring. And recently, surprise, surprise, for some of those lucky goals Saliba's got, he's the top of the last scoring from game week 10. That is. But overall, Price, your team, we're looking very close now. I think if you change Cunha to Jimenez, we're pretty close. Apart from you've got Trent, I've not gone there yet.
This is the team value thing, right? Like I could go, like I said, I could go Cunha to Raul, and instead of your Mbumo, I could have Jota, and I already have Trent. So I could have like basically, that's where all my 2 million is going, and obviously a more expensive keeper.
Okay, and you touched on as well. I should ask. People might be curious. Well, you said you're not gonna use a transfer on Greaves. Is that you look at him as just a dead spot until it's wildcard time, Prez? Is it simple as that? Yeah.
I don't think I need to at the moment. Like, if I get 4 solid defenders, I don't need to worry about a transfer for the 5th one. Like, wildcard is in what, 12, 13 weeks? We'll just deal with it then.
Fine. Well, I think that's good. I think we're both in good situation for this week. Like a lot of us for this upcoming game week. Before we jump off though, Prez, we quickly look at just for odds for this weekend, clean sheet and attacking odds. It might, I don't know if it's going to change your mind with captaincy, but this
Liverpool's is even the highest odds.
And before even tonight, Prez.
Exactly.
So can you imagine? Yeah, it's going to get even, boy, especially with that goalkeeper. Oh.
He was so uncomfortable. Like,
and
can you
almost it looked so awkward. God. And your goalkeeper, did you think, by the way, he was a foul, Prez, for the corner goal?
I think if it was VAR, he would have been called for a foul. But I also, as a fan, my first reaction was, come on, man, you got to be smarter than this. Like, if he's holding your hand, fall down. Okay, then the ref will have to blow the whistle on what happened, and then they will say, oh, he was holding him. Or be stronger and use both hands and get rid of him. Like, you're the keeper. Kick him if you need to. Like, you have the right. So what I'm saying is, like, he was not smart and he was not strong. And so ultimately he can't blame. But I do think it was a foul. Like, I do think it would, if VR was there, that would not be a goal.
Yeah.
But he was poor. He was poor in the night. Even the first goal, he should have parried it somewhere else, not in front of Solanke.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Praz. Look at the Arsenal, nearly 2 goals like Chelsea, but obviously playing against Crystal still doesn't tempt you with Saka. You're not budging on that one, are
under
you?
2 goals, market odds is not. I'm not touching.
You're not going. Yeah,
2 goals and above is interesting, but you have to. The season that Salah's having every week. Now, I don't know if it's true for you. I have captain Palmer 4 weeks in a row. Last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Because there has been a legitimate reason on why. It's either been more rest period or, a much better opponent, or Palmer having a better home game and stuff like that. This week, everyone is away. Salah has probably the easiest opponent defensively. I just don't see the need to go against him. Like, why? He'll be 160, 70% EO this week. I don't have full conviction that Palmer outscores him, so I'm not going to do it.
Would you do it though if you did have more conviction? Are you playing safe because you're doing so well in your start to the season? And you're thinking of EO price?
No, because last 4 weeks I've captained Palmer instead of Salah, and he's been lower EO than Salah. So it's not got to do with EO
so
at
it's
all.
Nothing to do.
But to do it when you think he's the best captain and he has the EO, and then to go against it, that's just stupid. Like, I'm talking for myself. If others do it, that's their choice.
No, I know. Yeah, fair. No, that's the last point I wanted to get you on. I think, to be honest, Praz, I think we've covered everything. I think Salah for me, captain, even though it's not as nice though, because when it's your team, it's like a double whammy. I want just us to win, but obviously if he doesn't do nothing and we lose or draw, it's a bit more painful. That's why I've enjoyed captain in Palmer. It's almost offset.
Right. I do differently. I'm different. Like, let's say if everybody was capping Bruno, I'd actually almost want to cap Bruno as well, because I don't want even 1% of me to say when Bruno's taking the penalty, no, don't take the pen, or miss the pen, because of course I want him to score the pen. But then that FPL side of me keeps thinking, oh, he's mass captain, man. So I don't want to go there. So I want to always, if anyone picks Man United picks, I'm like, okay, I
You're
also want.
in.
Yeah, that's just the way I sort of play.
Well, no worries. Listen, Praz, thank you very. Let's do something else. Sorry, I've cut you there, Praz. Is there anything you else wanted to cover?
No,
I think
nothing else for
I've
me. It's been
exactly.
comprehensive.
No,
Bang
I
on
think it
40
was.
minutes.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think we covered everything there. So listen, I just want to say, make sure you like and subscribe, please. All that good stuff. And Praz, I want to wish you a lovely holiday and a nice break, okay? And be refreshed, ready for the quick turnaround, obviously, after the
We will be
Christmas.
ready. We will be there. And yes, everybody, wish you a very, very Merry Christmas if you celebrate, and happy holidays with your loved ones.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.